Hello, gamers. This is the Gaming Reassembled podcast. I am your boy Sightsy, and I'm here with my co-host Super Saiyan Ginger. And as always, we are back. I say we are back, but this is our very first episode of the Gaming Reassembled podcast, full of gaming news and fun times for all.
and we are
So, without
oh,
go for it, go for it, go for it.
and we're absolutely excited to fill you in on all of the news from this past week in the gaming world. And
Mhm.
so to start us off, Sightsee, what you got for us?
We're gonna lead us off with the Halo Infinite director, Mr. Chris Lee, decided to walk away from the project. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because it's the second director to step down in the last 2 years, which is not a good sign for Halo fans. I'm sorry, but you haven't had a good game in a while, and this one isn't looking like it's gonna change anything. So I apologize. so I apologize.
And on the topic of people leaving studios, the StarCraft 2 team actually recently left Blizzard and started their own game design company called Frost Giant. And they are specifically targeting the real time strategy market. And just for you StarCraft fans out there, I'm sorry, Blizzard has halted everything on StarCraft 2, so there will be no more updates or content coming to that game. So, just like you Halo fans, StarCraft, I'm sorry.
it is for you. But in better news, Lego has partnered with Unity to create their own kind of like game building game to put it in layman's terms. And I think that's super cool. Not because I'm like a huge Lego fan or anything like that, but because I just think it means really good for everyone that's looking to get into gaming but doesn't really know what they're doing, especially like the younger generation. So I feel like this could be really big in the near future.
Now, if only we could continue on the trend of positive news, but Oculus fans, boy, do not delete your Facebook account. If you have an Oculus Rift and you delete your Facebook account, you will actually lose access to all of your games. So if you're somebody who's looking to get into an Oculus, because I know the Oculus 2 is releasing here soon and it has actually quite a few pre orders on it, and you don't use Facebook, create a burner Facebook account, set it on private, and use that because if you ever decide to delete it, you will lose your Oculus games as of right now.
Mhm. That is so sad. But in a bright spot about Facebook, they started their own cloud gaming service, which is in like the very early stages. They're only really working with like small free to play games at the moment. But it's another cool thing that gives people the option to be able to play these small games across all their platforms, whether they can afford like a console or not. So super good on Facebook's part. Sucks that you can't have a Facebook account and Oculus at the same time.
And
Unfortunately.
I'm definitely interested to see where Facebook takes that cloud gaming because I know they're starting off with mobile games right now, but if they hit that right and learn how to run those fluently, I think transitioning into bigger games in their future would make it a lot smoother. But on the note of cloud gaming, Amazon has actually launched their cloud gaming system called Luna into beta right now. And truth be told, I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm expecting it to try and compete with Stadia, but as well as Stadia is going right now, I don't think Amazon's going to currently hit that mark.
I don't think anyone's gonna be able to hit the mark. Stadia has dropped the bar to all those standards for everyone.
I mean,
So as
only
long
time will tell there.
as facts, as long as it only goes uphill from here, that's all we can really ask for. So and after that, we're gonna roll into something that's more gaming related directly in like the actual like games world. Destiny 2 released the official trailer for the Beyond Light expansion pack.
How lit does it look?
It's It looks very good, actually. It shows all of our favorite guys, especially Miss Eris, who has actually shown using her powers and fighting alongside the Guardians for the very first time in Destiny history. So
Been two
that was
games
super
about
cool to
time.
see. Right? It took only 2 games. It was only like 5 years into the community, but nothing too crazy. But it looks really good. The expansion pack so far only brings positive things, besides that one thing that they're doing called sunsetting, which is getting rid of old content for basically no apparent reason. They said we ran out of space. We're gonna make you guys lose some stuff. Is exactly what they said. And so, other than that, I think the expansion pack is going to be good for the Destiny community. So only time will tell in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely there. But on games where content is not in abundance or being removed, Spider Man Miles Morales has actually released their pre order skins that you can get. and one of them is the Spider-Verse suit. And one thing unique about it is they've actually lowered the frame rate on the character when he's using the suit to 18 frames per second, so he actually swings exactly like he does in the Spider-Verse movie. So that's definitely a pretty cool feature. I personally am not a fan of it. Like, you can watch the gameplay trailer for it. I just, it looks too laggy for me, but obviously he's running at 18 frames per second. So I personally won't be using it, but it is cool to see.
Yes, and it's always nice to see the Spider Verse represented in any way, shape, or form. I can always get behind that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Moving on to another new game that's not quite out yet, but decided to drop a little bomb on us. The Nintendo Switch game Hyrule Warriors released a demo of their game, and it was way bigger than anyone expected. Normally, most demos give you like 30 minutes of gameplay, 2 hours of gameplay, nothing like that. But with this one, we're easily looking at 7 to 8 hours of just content across the three characters, which is massive for a demo. So if you have a Nintendo Switch, I would highly recommend looking at Hyrule Warriors. It looks to be a very entertaining game. If you played any Dynasty Warrior games in the past, I think this could be a good hit for you.
And if you're looking for another game with a lot of good reviews, Watch Dogs Legion, I believe it's called, has just
That's the
released
one.
as of Thursday of this week. So if you're looking to put a lot of hours into that game, I would definitely recommend it. Like I said, the reviews for it are very good so far. And so I definitely plan on checking it out. I haven't played it yet, but I'm definitely excited to.
Yes, sir. And if you are in the United Kingdom and you want to look into any of these games, or you have any of these games and you have a small group of friends that you like to play games with, I assume most people do, the Odeon Theaters is actually renting out screens for you to take your group of friends and your console and play games on their massive big theater screens with that surround sound, and you're able to get the whole experience. So if you're in the UK and you got some homies laying around, really pitched in for a little bit, you actually have a really great time with some of your friends.
Truth be told, if that like advertisement's still going on when Miles Morales comes out, that would be the perfect game to go play in a movie theater, to be honest.
Yes, because that would be if you get the whole, you get completely immersed in the New York experience. That
Hmm.
would be
And with the
spectacular.
cinematics that game has, like I think that would be a perfect movie theater fit.
That I like that idea. And moving into our last gaming topic, I feel like this one is more your ballpark, so I will let you take this one away.
So, on the rumor mill, we have a projected quote unquote Forced Unleashed 3 game in development. Now, granted, this is rumored, it is not confirmed. And
Hmm.
truth be told, I love the Forced Unleashed games, but I don't expect this to actually be a Forced Unleashed 3. On with the recent success of Fallen Order, I just don't see them jumping back to a different franchise at the moment. Now, it could be a Force Unleashed inspired game, but I just don't see it being tied to that series, especially with the double endings that the Force Unleashed 2 introduced. They both endings, regardless of which one you chose, tied up the franchise. So I just don't see them bringing back Starkiller as a third clone. Much less do I want to see that, to be 100% honest. But regardless, so Star Wars fans, definitely be on the lookouts because there is something cooking along the lines of a Fallen Order Force Unleashed game. And as a Star Wars fan, I'm definitely excited.
And I'm actually kind of excited for it also because there's a chance it could be a Fallen Order 2 in the works or something like that. And I'm not a fan of Star Wars, but I love me some Fallen Order. So, fingers crossed it'll be a couple of years before we even see it, at least a year before we hear anything in detail about it. So, fingers crossed. Anyway, it's gonna be a good time for Star Wars fans. And in terms, and another thing about a new, this one's like not as nice, not as like high quality, not as hopeful. CD Project Red, they delayed their game again. Now, granted, the week delay is only 3 weeks long, but
It's the fourth delay now. Like, at some point, you got to release the game.
yes, yes, and they delayed it again after specifically saying they wouldn't delay it again.
So, just to give y'all a little perspective, if I know a lot of y'all don't use social media a whole lot, so after they certified that their game went gold. About a few days later, they made another post saying, "Are y'all like hyped for Cyberpunk coming out in November?" And a dude actually commented on their post saying, "I want to book this day off. Can y'all confirm there are no more delays with this game?" Cyberpunk replied to him and said, "Can confirm." That was on Tuesday of this week. On Wednesday, when the delay went out, they actually went back to their reply to this dude and said, "Oh shit, sorry." It's
Accident.
yeah.
Our bad. You took some time off for no reason.
Mhm.
We goofed. We goofed. We goofed.
Yeah. So definitely the fan base for CD Projekt Red, not even Cyberpunk, CD at this point is very upset with this. But truth be told, the people that got it the worst are the actual game developers who found out via the tweet notification that went out. Now, granted, they did also receive an email, but the email went out the same time as a tweet. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to look at the tweet notification that I get from my company before I look at the email.
Especially when I'm sitting at my house and it's like 10 a.m. in the morning or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm big chilling right now. So, um, shout out to CD Project Red. I have minimal expectations of the game anyway. So, I don't think if anything bad could come out of it at this point. At this exact moment, I have as low expectations as possible. So, I feel like them delaying it is like whatever to me.
Yeah, I mean, considering the only news we've gotten on the game is either delays or features they're removing from the game, I personally don't have a lot of hope. Like, I think this game is hitting the solid mediocre standard, and that's going to be
Yep.
it.
It's gonna be a game that people are going to enjoy for 2 days, maybe 3 days. It's not gonna be game of the year by any means. Maybe because on hype, but in terms of quality, I'm not expecting anything from this game.
Yeah, I think whatever the actual Cyberpunk lacks is going to be made up for when Cyberpunk Online comes out in 2022.
Yeah, which is a long. That's a distance, bro. That's a distance. Like, there's so much that could happen in those 2 years. What if the game flops out the gate and there isn't anyone to play the game in 2 years? You know what
That's
I'm
very
saying?
true.
So Cyberpunk, it exists. Hopefully, it'll be good. Hopefully, it'll be open ended enough to where you can play the game for 2 years straight. I don't see myself playing a single player game for that long.
There's personally, I just don't see it. I don't see
Yeah,
it.
I don't see a way yet that to stretch a single player game out for that long.
The longest
So,
single player game I've just personally played is God of War, and I hit a 3 maybe 4 week span on that game, beat it twice, and I was like, I'm good, I'm out. Like, because after a
yeah.
certain point, there's only so far you can take a single player game.
Like, I can only play the game so many times. Like, I can only new game plus it so many times. I can only speed run it so many times. So,
On the topic of speedrunning, our favorite game to speedrun has actually just received a new update, and that's Pokemon.
at first, I was like, "Where are you going with this? What game do I ever speed run?"
We speedrun
But
Pokemon all the time.
all the time.
If you have a
That's one of my
PC
favorite.
and you're not speedrunning or emulating Pokemon, I'd recommend it. It's a great time.
Yeah. So, get your favorite person. Get your small group of friends and do a group Nuzlocke. You will not have any more fun.
Ooh.
I promise you. If you do a group Nuzlocke, you will have a blast every single time. Every single time. So, but Pokemon Sword and Shield got their new expansion, the Crown Tundra. And unlike the Isle of Armor, it is actually really good. And people are really excited for it. It brings almost 120 new Pokemon, as well as a massive area to explore with its own wild area. So it is very good. And the thing that I am most excited about personally is the fact that with all the new Pokemon that are being brought back into the game, the tiers have shifted a little bit, and the competitive Pokemon is actually back to being really fun. So if you've been out of the loop for a while, just thinking about going into it, now's a good time to start. There's a lot of really fun Pokemon to build teams around, and a lot of good stuff happening within the Pokemon community in general.
And listen, with the Crown Tundra came the release of Slowpoke. And to all of our Pokemon fans out there, if y'all don't evolve your Slowpoke into a Slowking, just
You're
stop
getting
the
into a
podcast.
disservice.
Just stop the podcast. Nobody wants the Slowbro. Nobody wants the Slowbro. Slowking aesthetically and just stat wise is a better Pokemon. Get the Slowking. That's our advice to you.
Unless the option is Mega Slowbro, but then you can't see statistically. Mega
I don't think
Slowbro is
megas
kind
are
of a
in the
thing.
game though.
Yeah, they're not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
They're not a thing anymore. But you know what I'm saying? It's the exclusion to the rule. Mega Slowbro is an absolute
Who knows? Maybe they
tank.
transferred over Mega Slowbro stacks to a Dynamax Slowbro. Who knows?
Maybe it's the same thing, but either way, that thing will tank, and I don't want to see one of those on the other side because it's gonna be annoying. It's not gonna actually hurt me in any way, shape, or form, but it's gonna be annoying to get through. That boy is thick. But in other Pokemon capturing, creature capturing, exploring the world news, Temtem also got an update recently, and this update is really special because it is all community driven. Every single thing that they implement into the game is something that the community asked them specifically for. And the very first thing on the list of updates that they included was a fishing rod. And along with this fishing rod came a new Temtem, of course. It is kind of along the lines of EV, where it can be any type of the game, but it's really good for Tim to constantly see them adding new mechanics and new things into the game that weren't there before.
And don't forget with that Temtem update, you can actually now rebattle. I'm gonna call them gym leaders because I don't really know what they're called. They,
Dojo leaders.
oh yeah, I was gonna say they battle out of Tikis, but Tiki leader doesn't roll off the tongue.
It's not Tiki leader. But yes, and along with that, there's also new ways to catch Lumas and a whole new wishing well mechanic that provides you with random items, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But it's just like another interesting thing. It's an interesting thing to do in the world of Temtem. And me, as a Temtem lover, I think anytime I see this game doing better, I love it. And I was gonna every single update, I always put in 20 to 30 more hours into the game just to kind of see what it's like and just get a feel for it. And so far, I mean, the game still feels the same. There's no new main missions or anything to do. It's only competitive battling and kind of farming up Pansoons at the moment. So, but I still enjoy the off topic and just playing the game in general. So it's always a good time.
Yeah, and for those of y'all that do think it's a Pokemon clone, how many times have y'all asked uh, Game Freak to implement something for Pokemon, and they never listen to us? So if y'all are fed up with Game Freak, I would definitely recommend going check out Temtem. It's
Oh, absolutely.
completely unique battling style compared to Pokemon.
Even if you're not fed up with Game Freak, just go check it out. It's
True,
completely different.
true. It
If
is
you like Pokemon, even better.
facts because it's an MMO. You can play online with your friends.
Yep.
Like it doesn't get better than that.
And the biggest thing for me is this actually presents a challenge. It's not like those Pokemon games where I can play it with my eyes closed with one hand behind my back and still flow through everything with my one Pokemon, you know? It actually takes challenge, it takes thinking, it takes skill, it takes strategy. So in that regards, I would highly recommend looking into it. It's way more consistent than competitive Pokemon has ever been. And I think it's just good overall. It's a very solid game. It fits its niche very well. So moving on into our in terms of like updates and things that we're going to keep adding to the games. No Man's Sky
No
comeback game of
Man's Sky.
2020, in my opinion. Comeback game of 2019, even.
I can't speak
The
on that. I haven't touched it. I haven't done anything with that game. But I will say the updates they are introducing are very good. And
yes,
if you were somebody who was into No Man's Sky upon initial release, got disappointed, this is definitely a good jumping back in point to the game.
absolutely. They added all. For step one, it was a complete graphics overhaul of the game. All but only at the high end level. They completely upped all the high end graphics of the game. So if you played the game on high settings, the game looks gorgeous. If you played the game on low settings, the game still is low settings. But in terms of the high end stuff, they completely redid everything and made it look much better. So that's like the biggest part of the update, as well as them adding all new planets, all new world events like storms and things like this. And another big thing is 32 player servers, which has been a thing on PC, but is very new to consoles. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is it's a free update for everyone, and it gives you the next gen version of the game.
Which is very crucial at this day and age, especially with next gen being what 2 weeks away.
Yes, sir. So it is a very good update for game for No Man's Sky in general. And every time I see anything about this game, it continually improves, and that I love to see.
Oh, absolutely. That's always a big thing because
Yes.
it is not very often you get games that feature good updates that the community wants. Which, funny enough, ties right into our next game of
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's Avengers, which
Yes.
has been doing better when it comes to their updates and fixing their game. But there are definitely some things the community is still asking for that we actually recently just got a Q&A on topic of basically they answered 10 questions the community's been asking the most. Basically, when's Kate Bishop coming out? When's the raid coming out? When are we getting just new content in general? When are we getting PC support? Because if y'all don't know, the PC version of the game, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, is actually not optimized. Because I guess they never decided to think, like, hey, we should release an NVIDIA graphics driver update with this game. And their answers to all of those questions are we are currently working on other things before we can get to those.
Yeah.
So they're definitely still working on improving the quality of life. And honestly, from where the game started to where it's at now, it plays a lot smoother. It's just at this point, players are wanting new content and they are not delivering on that. As far as actual recent news with the game, though, so Crystal Dynamics has actually put the marketplace on a 50% discount, and they are quote unquote permanently continuing that until further notice. So that's why I say quote unquote,
I thought
because
it was end on the 29th.
it was supposed to, but they recently came out and said that they are
Okay,
just
okay.
continuing it indefinitely until they give us the green light that it's going to switch back.
Cool, cool.
And with the marketplace discount, they actually repriced all of the emotes in the game. So if y'all want to look that up, I don't have the prices in front of me right now, but they all got knocked down. I want to say like 200-300 credits.
That's huge.
Oh yeah, no, it was very substantial. So definitely working on making it more affordable there.
That and it's more accessible to free to play players and things like that. That would be really nice because that's one of the things that you were gypped on in the game is like that in-game currency to actually get things. So that's really good. So I think Avengers is headed in the right direction overall. It's just going at a crawl.
Yeah, no,
And
it's at this point, his patience is a virtue. And
mm-hmm.
as somebody who's been keeping up with the game a lot, I truthfully believe either the week before Thanksgiving, I want to say is when we're going to get Kate. Because I want to say either Monday or Tuesday, Crystal Dynamics posted on their Twitter an announcement announcing a
Announcement.
war table in November, which will then announce when Kate and AIM Secret Lab Raid is coming out. So they did a phenomenal job at announcing an announcement to an announcement. Love it. But so yeah, I think because we still have to get the raid before we get Kate. I don't think they're going to drop them hand in hand because, based off everything I've seen with Crystal Dynamics, they've specifically said that the Tachyon rifts that are currently into the game play into the AIM Secret Labs raid, which then ties everything together for Kate's release. So I don't see them dropping both of those together.
See, in my head, it makes the most sense for them to come together. And I feel like that should be how it be forward forward. Like with every new character, you get a new raid.
Okay, well, I'm speaking realistically here, but if you
Yes.
want my personal opinion, they need to drop the raid first week of November, and then at some point in November when they drop Kate, they need to drop Clint as well.
I agree with that 100%. There's no
That's
point in having two different Hawkeyes in the game.
that's what they should do.
There's no reason for you to have two different Hawkeyes. It
But
makes no sense.
if you look at the recent leaks, shout out to our boy Miller on Twitter
The boy
who goes through
Comes through in the
and I don't know how he finds this stuff, but I'm
Thanks.
grateful he does. He's actually released the in-game model for Hawkeye. Looks really weird, to be 100% honest with you. Then again, he's just all like a peach color. So like there's no actual coloring or anything to him. It's just like his character
Model.
outline and yeah.
Yeah.
And
Is
so
it old school Hawkeye or no? With the
no,
mask and everything?
no, it is not old school Hawkeye. He's like bald. He looks
I
like
agree.
me.
That good.
Yeah.
I don't like old school.
No, I did not like old school Hawkeye either.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hawkeye's model got leaked. Black Panther's full costume, well, okay, waist up, got released. On top of that, there's been leaks of a ping system already being implemented into the game. When that goes live, we do not know. And then we got new character logos. So I don't know what these are actually going to be applied for because they are like just little avatar logos, just square little
Yeah.
rectangles. And they
Like
have
little
one for
character
each
gear and
character, yeah. So it would be interesting to see what those are going to be implemented for. But what I'm most hyped for is the ping system. Because if we can get a ping system, that means we can get an emote wheel. Because only having one emote attached to your character is garbage.
I want to be able to do 2 emotes.
I want to be able to do 4.
Oh snap! You asking for a lot, you dog. You asking for a lot.
Hey, when I hit left on my D-pad and it pops up the emote wheel, I have 4 other buttons I can hit on top of that. That's 4 emotes right there.
True. But in terms of more things that the players want, more opportunity for players to do things, Anthem released the very first update on their 2.0. And
Hey, 2 years in the making. Let's go.
we're here now. It's a start. We got our very first look at it. And honestly, me as an Anthem fan, um, it looks like Destiny. A
They
whole lot like
they
Destiny.
honestly, so like if y'all pull up this news and y'all actually look at the graphic, they actually show UI of like your character customization in Destiny, and then they compare it to Anthem, and it is similar. It is the
It is
exact same.
identical. It is straight up the same thing, and it is
Mm-hmm.
mind-boggling. Because, like, when I first read it, I was just like, "Wow, this is a really good update. I like everything that's happening here." But then you like look at it and directly compare it, and you're like, "Oh, it's the only thing I can that is the difference between like this and Destiny is I can't switch my classes on my subclass on the fly."
Mm-hmm.
Literally the only difference. They're literally changing the things that made javelins unique into things that fit Destiny character. If that makes sense. The only difference is I don't have armor pieces. I just have gear pieces.
Which I mean makes
So
sense because Destiny's very much an aesthetic game, whereas
mhm,
Anthem, you pick your javelin,
yeah, and that's
and
what you get.
yeah, that's what you're rocking the whole time until you decide to go back to Fort Tarsis and change it. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes
And
sense. There's not actual like cosmetic gear piece changes.
and in fact, because the gear has no effect on Anthem, it's just pieces of armor that you have on. There's no reason for them to implement it as affecting the gameplay. I
Mm.
am pretty sad to see components go. I did like the components mechanic. I thought they was pretty good, and there was something that was really unique. And they're replacing it with like mods and artifacts, which on paper sounds meh compared to the components and all the things that they could do. But again, if they think this is going to be the right direction, I can only have 100% faith in what they're doing, especially because when I looked at it and their breakdowns of it, it does sound enticing and gives you much more diversity than the components did.
Yeah, my thing with the components is it got to a point where, well, first of all, you couldn't run more than one of the same component, which
Yeah,
honestly,
they're all unique.
it makes sense. But
They're all unique.
once you figure out what works for your build, and the fact that you could have, I want to say you could have 7 or 8 of them attached to
I
one
think with 7.
character. Yeah,
Mhm.
it got to a point where you're running 2 or 3 that don't do anything or don't really complement your build. They might just
They're
buff
just
your
niche things
primary
that you
weapon
have.
damage. Yeah, exactly. So like components for me got just they were too many options, and not in the sense that like there's all these
So many
components you
options,
could
not
go
enough
out and
rewards.
collect. No, it was just you could equip too many. It got to
Mm-hmm.
the like if they slimmed that down to let's say 5 and then specified really hard on what the components actually did for each unique javelin, that would have been a much better system than how they implemented it in my opinion.
Because I feel like I'm in the minority as far as Anthem players when I found my niche build. So the fact that I'm in the niche when I say that is not good. You shouldn't have the small percentage of players being like, "Yeah, I get exactly what I want out of this," and the vast majority are like, "This sucks. I can't get what I want out of this." That's not where you want your player base to be, especially in a looter shooter game where it's about diversity and things like that.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely there. And I mean that just comes back to the horrible loot drops they implemented in that game. Like
so bad.
I mean everybody knows the story of Anthem. That whole game was a hot mess, but I am definitely excited to see where 2.0 goes. I do hope they keep the primers and what's the other
Detonators, the combo
detonators.
system.
Yeah, I like the combo. I think that combo system's pretty unique.
That's the main gameplay style of the game. To get rid of that is completely changing the game, and I don't see that as being a good thing at all. You take what makes your game unique and you get rid of
What made the
that.
game unique was the flying.
Was the
That's
flying?
what made the
I,
game unique.
I enjoyed the combat of Anthem. I just didn't like doing the same mission over and over
Okay,
and over again.
okay. When you saw gameplay and you saw the combos work with like the storm, for instance, when he's calling down his ultimate, and then you saw the storm flying, which one looked more intriguing to you? The combo system
So,
or the
what
flying?
do you mean? What do you mean the combo system? The
No,
flying is part
absolutely
of the
not.
game. cool mechanic, yes, but it's the combo system with
I,
this big ass
I
fights
promise you,
going on,
everybody saw
explosives
that
everywhere.
flying and they were hooked. They were hooked because of the flying. The rest of the game was an added benefit until release, and we got the hot mess it was.
Oh, yeah, absolute shitstorm. But
Hey,
it's whatever. How
it's
you
all
live,
good though.
you live and you learn. You live and you learn.
Just like
I don't
Avengers,
pre-order games
patience is
anymore.
key with the game.
But in our last topic of the night, AMD released their 6800.
And 6900.
And I was gonna just like 6,000 series because I was like I goofed,
Well,
but
yeah, you.
6,000 series. There's 6,000 series graphics card, and they kind of look good.
Yeah,
They're
and
just
as as somebody who didn't hop on the Nvidia hype train day one, granted there was actually a lot of mess talked about AMD after Nvidia presented their 3000 series cards because Nvidia was just straight silent. There was nothing from them, and they actually made a few tweets with like some shocked emojis towards Nvidia when a few days after their release of the graphics cards. And so everybody was like, "Oh god, AMD has nothing." And so for them to come out and present what they did, I think they really,
they knocked them out of the park. They knocked them out
on
of the park.
paper, they
Yes,
took over the market.
on paper, it's a home run for sure. Being able to build an entire computer out of just AMD parts makes it so efficient,
And
so efficient.
that is one thing I want to stress to y'all is when y'all look at this graphs and compare the 6800 to the 2080 Ti, or is it just the 2080 or the
This
2080
Ti,
Super?
Ti,
The Ti, and then
yes
the
sir,
3900 to the
the
3090.
yes sir.
Understand that if y'all actually watch the AMD live stream, they mentioned this once, only once, and very short. That if you have an AMD CPU, a 5000 series CPU, the 6000 series graphics card, and the latest motherboard. I want to say it's Series 4. Don't quote
Series
me on that.
four,
It's
it's
Series
Series
4.
four,
Man, I
yes
watched
sir.
this live stream once and I remember all this shit. But yeah, so if
Series
you
four.
compare those three parts together, you are actually getting faster CPU and GPU clock speeds at a power
Lower
supply
power,
reduction. Yeah.
which is insane concept
And
to
so
be able.
the reason I mention that is because when you go back and look at the graphs, understand that that is probably what's at stake here. You got to understand their shit's working at like perfection for them
Yes.
to achieve those rates. So
Mm.
when tech YouTubers and stuff do get those cards and y'all start comparing that to what we saw on the graphs, understand that reviewers probably aren't going. Let me
Oh,
rephrase.
they might intentionally go away from building all AMD systems just because that's more realistic.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
in order to get a more practicality test of the card, they're definitely going to run it on different CPUs that aren't what was recommended or probably used in the specs to get those graphs.
And then to be fair, for most of these graphs, even though the 6900 performs better, it's always in that 5% margin where it's like there could be a little bit of error here. You never exactly know. It could be having a good day, could be having a low day. It's still in that small percentage of error. So like it's not like they're 100% boom, this is better. It's still a tiny difference.
They should really tell us the specs of like the PC they're using when they run those benchmarks.
I agree.
Because I'd be curious, like, is that air cooled? Is that water cooled? What's the temperature of the freaking room? Like, what's the temperature?
Mm-hmm.
All of
How
that.
loud is it?
Yeah, exactly. All of that comes into effect when you're getting those benchmark scores. And on top of that as well, on the note of the 3900 XT, 6900 XT, sorry, when
Yeah.
comparing it to Nvidia's 3090, understand that is the card overclocked in what AMD calls rage mode.
Yes.
So don't think that's base clocks. That is rage mode overclocked.
Max
So
efficiency.
yeah, that is the
Mm-hmm.
best of the best you're getting from that 6900.
Yes. And again, still in this, again, it's still that small 5% margin of error. It's still in that small error.
And
So
one more thing to notice looking at these graphs too is that is at 4K quality.
yes,
And
most
so
people aren't that high. Most people aren't going to get that.
the average consumer is probably at 1080p, so you could actually push those frames higher, widening them that margin for newer games because they're pretty neck and neck. AMD and Nvidia are when it comes to the older games like Tomb Raider and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah, when it comes to old games, both companies are obvious. Like this is the max performance we can get out of these old games. But in terms of new ones, we can still do more. So it's still very good to see from both companies. Either way, the market is competitive, and that's what I like to see because competitive market means lower prices,
And
and I will take that.
on that note, to the consumers, if you're somebody who isn't looking to hop on one of the bandwagons and get the newest graphics card right now, give it a year. And I know everybody says this when it comes to buying PC parts. It's like, why would I get this one when in 2 years I could get the 7000 series GPU? Yeah. The only reason I mention this is because I know for a fact Nvidia is going to release some type of Super and or TI card.
Yep,
Don't know which one it'll be.
100% guaranteed.
I would personally expect it to be a 2080 Ti. That's what I would expect because the 3090 is a workstation card.
Yes,
And
and
I
for them to get back in the market, they would have to take it over and before they have to take over the market again. And they're going to do it. They're not going to do it now. There's no reason for them to do it now. They just flex their muscles. I
mhm,
just gotta wait and see how hard they gotta flex next time. And I think a Ti is next fall. We're going to see a 3080 Ti for sure.
absolutely.
Now, my thing with that is, does AMD have a rebuttal for that, or is
As
no
far
there a chance?
as far as their graphics card releases go, they haven't been as stingy as Nvidia has with releasing updated versions of their graphics cards. At least from what I've
Okay,
noticed, I could be wrong in that, but from what I've seen so far, they haven't came back and done like a super TI version of their graphics cards. What they're releasing is what they're releasing.
yes. So another thing of note, and how I look at it, 1080 Ti or higher, you were fine chilling for the moment. There's no reason for you to go up in games. There's no reason for you to be concerned about, oh man, can I still perform or anything like that. Your 1080 Ti will get you through for the next at least 2 years, and then you can think about upgrading. That by that point we'll have TIs and supers and other. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So and another note to upgrade for a graphics card right now, and you're waiting for the tech YouTubers to do their AMD reviews comparing it to 3090s, whatever. Even if the specs at base rates, let's say you're somebody who doesn't want to overclock, because let's be real, the average consumer isn't going to mess with that,
mhm.
still consider the price to performance you're paying for that new graphics card. So you could
Yes,
get the 3090 if you want to be the person who gets the latest and greatest
yeah, you can
and
borrow it.
pay
Good.
$1,500,
Yeah, you can
or
borrow it.
you could get the 6900 that potentially performs, I should say,
On
just as
paper.
good, if not a little better, on paper, as
Mm.
Sightsee said, and save
Yep,
yourself $500.
facts. And I don't know about you, $500 does me pretty well.
Hey, that $500 could be used to get you that latest 5000 series CPU. That way you can have the
Mhm.
tag team combo that may be the thing that boosts your 6900 above
To
a
the next level.
3090.
Yeah, all things to consider.
Mm-hmm.
So, and either way, it's good to see a competitive market again. Good to see
Absolutely.
competitive. There's no one out there. There's no guaranteed winner at the moment, and that's what I like to see. And that's what I like to see. And with the release of the 6800 being 3 weeks away, we are sure to get those reviews very soon. And then the release of the 6900 is 5 weeks away. So they're both right around the corner.
And as far as I've seen, there's no pre-order news as of yet.
Yes, I was not able to find anything on
Yeah, I
that.
haven't checked anything on it. And so, truth be told, if AMD can launch the graphics card, honestly, not even smooth, just better than how Nvidia handled it, that's a
Mm-hmm.
win, another win for AMD in my book. Because there are still people trying to get 3000 series cards.
To this day. To this day.
Like they are outside before the hours before stores open, waiting in line for
Right.
a chance to get a batch that they got for that week. Like it is absurd the lengths y'all go to get new graphics cards, and I respect it. I'm not even gonna front.
Yep.
I
I
respect it.
respect it.
I have. I want to say I have patience, but really it's just I don't want to put forth that much effort. So I'm gonna call that patience, but you call it
Yeah,
what you
I'm gonna
want.
call it bait. But you can do whatever you want over there. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the very first episode of the Gaming Reassembled podcast. As always, I am your host, Sightsee, along with my co host.
Super Saiyan Ginger. And I just want to say thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all can catch this podcast on both Spotify and Apple Music. And we'll also be posting a live show version over on YouTube as well. So definitely go ahead, check that out. And with that, we'll see y'all next week.